Hi everyone, welcome. Thanks so much for coming out to have this chat with us, Meta Angels. So, Alex and Ali, would you first like to just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your project, Meta Angels?
Absolutely. Hi everyone, I'm Alex Cavoulacos. I'm co-founder and CEO of Meta Angels.
I'm Allyson Downey. I am the other co-founder of Meta Angels. And Sarana, introduce yourself as well.
Sure. My name's Sarana. I'm also known as Aslan Ruby in the NFT art space. I am the artist for Meta Angels.
Yes. Fantastic. Well, so Meta Angels is an NFT membership community. We are founded on the values of generosity, transparency, and accessibility, and really focusing on how do we bring people together, break down barriers of the networks that we are used to that are usually have very strong gatekeeping, and instead bring people in who have those shared values to have impact in their real world life.
And the genesis for it really was in looking at the NFT landscape broadly, thinking about how it really is an intersection today as we're using this tech as a demo, essentially, for what smart contracts can do, and seeing an intersection of brand and membership community, and thinking about what is the brand that we each want to represent ourselves, and what is the membership community we want to be part of.
Yeah. And when we first started the project, we knew we had this vision in terms of what we wanted to be on the membership side, and in terms of what we wanted the community to stand for. And we really wanted capital A art that sort of matched that. And so we went out, and as many people do, we trolled Twitter, we looked at NFTs, we looked for different artists, and we discovered Sarana on Twitter and hunted her down. And so I would love, Sarana, if you could share a little bit about you and Aslan Ruby and sort of how you got into the NFT space as well.
Sure. Yes, so I started in the NFT space with my Genesis collection, Wonder Country. I've been an artist for probably going on 10 years now, and got pulled into the digital world, which is where, I came across you guys, or you came across me. And after, I guess, going through this amazing introduction into the NFT world through Meta Angels, really, which was a very lucky introduction to the space, and getting my head around generative art and how to create that, now I'm back to focusing on my one-of-one work, and, also my other project that I did art for, which was Honey Badgers. So I guess that's me operating as Aslan Ruby. So you did just touch on it then as well, about your smart contract, which is something that you were nominated for as the most innovative smart contract. So I just wanted to maybe come back to that and ask a little bit more about that lending mechanism, which was really like pioneering technology within the smart contract space. So could you share a bit more about that lending?
Yeah. Ali, this was your idea, so I want you to tell the genesis, and I can talk a bit more about the execution.
So in thinking about those membership communities, one of the challenges and hurdles is that they're gated. And when we were looking at NFTs and thinking about tokenization, saw an opportunity to use tokenization to blow the walls off those traditionally gated communities. One of the challenges, though, as so many of us know, is that NFTs can appreciate in value because they deliver value to people. And we wanted to ensure that, if we built something successful and valuable, that people weren't going to be shut out of it because of the price. So came up with this idea for a smart contract that could be loaned, or an NFT that could be loaned via the smart contract and done on chain. And Alex, do you want to talk about the technical?
Yeah, so the thing we were looking to sort of marry was there was a tension, right, between our desire to be inclusive and the fact that as project founders, you don't control the floor price, despite what many people may hope. And so as a result, how do we make sure that people can access it? And so the way that it works is that if you're a holder of a Meta Angel or multiple Meta Angels, you can go connect your wallet and lend it to anyone else. All you need is their wallet address, and it's an on-chain transaction. If you pick a nice cheap time of night, it's the cost of a cup of coffee, maybe a couple bucks, and it will transfer that NFT to the wallet, but it uses a different function. And so if that person who's borrowing it from you tries to sell it or transfer it, it cannot leave their wallet. It keeps it secure. And only the original owner can bring it back. But while the person is borrowing it, they get a chance to benefit from all of the membership benefits. And so it lets you help people get into the space who can't yet afford it, who are still experimenting, who are learning how it works. It let us include artists who are still very new to the space to make connections and find collectors, help people find co-founders in the space. So that accessibility piece was really, really critical. But what's been amazing is we've also seen the application within our community. People are also using it for security reasons. So they're keeping their Meta Angels in their cold wallet and lending it to their hot wallet so that they can use it for collab land or whatever other things they need it for. And if there's ever a breach or security hack, their angel is secure. And we actually saw that happen. Actually, one of the first people it was loaned to was brand new in the space, clicked on a link in a DM, and nothing happened. The scammer kept trying to move it out. You could see the failed transactions, and the original owner just brought it back. So that was a sort of pioneering idea that Ally had, that we've written quite a bit about. And for anyone who's working on those projects, we hope you'll consider bringing it in both for inclusion and for security.
And one of the things that was so interesting and exciting is that we were early enough in the space, we are still early enough in the space, that those types of innovations, there's just so much white space for them right now. In November, this technology didn't exist, and now we have more tokens on loan than we have listed for sale.
There's this one analogy, Ally, that you use that I would love for you to do before you ask our next question, which is you talk about the invention of the wheel and how early we are in this space. I'd love for you to share that.
Yeah, for me, looking at the overall landscape, it really felt like, and again, this was why it was so exciting, that we were at that moment where we're watching the invention of the wheel. The artifacts of that are going to be the CryptoPunk and the Bored Apes, and eventually we were going to look back at this time as one where so much groundbreaking technology was introduced, and it's still so simplistic. I talk about my wheel spiel. The wheel actually originated as a pottery wheel, and that's the stage we're at right now. It doesn't even have spokes yet. It's still on its side. It's being used to make decorative objects, and I can envision the wagon. I can see it, starting to move things around. I can't yet see that higher order usage, like turning a wheel into a gear that's going to draw energy down from a wind turbine. But I have conviction that it's there.
Something that I'm interested in as well with your smart contract innovation, with this idea of lending and inclusion. Were there any challenges with, I guess, how that was received within the wider market? Because it does, especially, maybe 6 months ago in this space, it kind of flied against the face of, you need to buy in, you need to pump floor price, and that's not what this is doing. So it was extremely innovative in a cultural sense in the space as well. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I do think it was interesting to see because there were so many people who joined the project because they were passionate about it. And they were like, I'm so excited that there's this accessibility piece to it, there's a generosity component to it. But you did see, and we did hear voices who said, well, if someone can just borrow it for free, and then they don't have to buy it, well, what's that going to do to the floor price? And I think for that, it's really about, do you have an abundance mindset? Do you think that there are enough people out there who are going to come into Web3 and participate in these communities? And do you want to take them along for the ride? That's the kind of Web3 I want us to be building. Not the kind that says, I want to shut people out for my short-term gain. I think we will all see so much transformation, and not just the next couple. It's been less than 6 months since our mint. It feels like it's been years. We've aged like it's been years. But I do think that's a question. If we want to look at the long-term impact on the space, that's the kind of moves I want to see projects making, is not just the short-term gains.
Absolutely, and I think that is what drew me and so many other people to the project as well. And we are here landscaping the space that we are in, and we are creating the home that we want to have within Web3. And I think it's incredibly important to go against the grain in those kinds of ways to create a healthier culture that we can all, live in.
One thing I was going to say as well, talking about trying to do things a little bit differently. One of the things when we met Sarana that we tasked her with was, we want to create a collection that is fully inclusive in terms of representation, where people can find themselves and they can see themselves. And especially at the time, a lot of collections were cartoon animals, or picked a gender, or are very binary in their gender, and we wanted to have the entire gender spectrum. That was a really big artistic challenge. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was. It was a massive challenge to create a completely ungendered 10K drop of works. And, so I think a lot of projects would come out with saying that they were all-inclusive, and that kind of meant that they were actually just portraying females and not necessarily representative of the non-binary folks as well. So it was really important across gender and across race to not have any traits that were actually, that's not quite true. We did tie some traits because it felt like it was the authentic and right thing to do, to be accurate culturally. But yes, it was extremely challenging to make sure that, every set of eyes could go with every set of nose, that could go with every set of mouth, and depending on what kind of chin perhaps you got, would, perhaps have a say in what you would read the gender of your PFP as. And I think what was a really interesting thing that happened once we did manage to do that was that people would read our angels as all different genders. So it was really in the
same angel.
The same angel,
yeah.
Yes. So, often I would see an angel as, I would read it as feminine. And, Alex might read it as, no, that's definitely masculine. Or there's some that I would say are definitely non-binary. And others would, read as feminine. So I think that was a really, it felt like a really groundbreaking thing for me as an artist to be able to portray that. And I also had a lot of messages coming in from people saying, thank you, I feel represented. I feel like my non-binary child is now represented in the space, which was like, yes, okay. The very late nights were all worth it.
Absolutely.
So I guess talking about this innovation, which is a core theme within Meta Angels in lots of different aspects, this is also something that you've carried through with your Web3 accelerator that you have launched recently, Angel Labs. Do you want to go into that, explain what Angel Labs is and what it does?
Yeah, so Alex and I both come from tech accelerators. I took a company through Techstars. Alex took one through Y Combinator. Had remarkable experiences, both of us. And we've each spent 10 years building tech companies, and when we came into this space, realized very quickly that there is so much overlap between Web 2 and Web 3, and maybe 90% of it is overlap, but that 10% is totally new. But the 10% that people need to learn and scale up, a lot of it's just one-time things, like your smart contract and thinking about your tax structure, and wanted to pave the path for seasoned Web 2 entrepreneurs to come into Web3, bring their innovation, bring their skill set, and not be weighed down by a lot of the administrivia of building a Web3 project.
Yeah. No, I think especially for people who are, thinking about coming into this space not just as collectors, but as founders and as builders, it can feel really overwhelming at first. And you look at it, my background is leading really product and operations and building tech companies, and the Solidity contract is not the hard part. It's, a couple dozen lines. I'm seeing people shake your heads right. And you need it once, really. And it's 95% the same thing as everyone else's smart contract, which you can read online. And so if you think of it through that lens, okay, then you mint, and then what? You're running a company, you're thinking about marketing, you're thinking about hiring, you're thinking about taxes, you're thinking about all of these different things. And so bringing people who are really good at that stuff and helping them with the tiny piece of the Solidity contract or generating the art. We built our own art generator that our labs companies have access to. That was a really interesting thing. And so we opened up. We didn't know what the demand would be like, but I'd gone through Y Combinator. There were really great things about that network we wanted to bring. Techstars had really great programming and mentors. So we brought that as well into Angel Labs in terms of the structure. And so we opened up applications and got over 300 companies who applied in 2 weeks and selected 16 really phenomenal companies. And it was amazing to see the backgrounds that they have. I mean, serial builders, entrepreneurs, people who have exited exited companies, people who already had ideas, who had innovative technology. One of the companies is actually, Hope Grows, is under the CPG company Mars, if you guys know chocolate. I love chocolate. Their sort of pet brand has been working for over a decade on technology to regrow coral reefs, like really incredible ocean conservation work, and have such a huge community interested in working on that. And so they wanted to do a DAO and bring a community along. And to do that, they just won a Cannes Lion this week as well.
I think they're here.
They hopefully
Hope
are
Grows
here.
is
They're
here,
right
yeah.
here. If anyone wants to talk about ocean conservation, Hope Grows, they're right here. And so being able to look at that and say, these are people who've been building, who have these incredible background and skill set. They just need that bridge to Web3. That's not the hard part. And so we're so excited to be able to support all of these different teams doing that as well. I know we're close to time.
I know, we're very
How should
close.
we wrap it up?
Well, actually, I just wanted to very quickly ask, I'll throw this one at you, Ally. So, you're both very established in the Web 2 space. You've both built companies, and now you've built this amazing company within Web 3. Can you just, I guess, finish on the note of the difference between building in Web 2 and Web 3, and then, maybe an inspirational ending so we can all leave here and power on forward through this bear market?
Yeah, so for me, what's been most remarkable in building in Web3 is the opportunity to connect with your consumers right from the beginning and have your consumers be the ones supporting and building your company. That you don't have to rely on outside investors and venture capital. You can turn to the people who love what you're building, and you can build a business based on revenue and not investment capital. And it's just opening so many doors for so many entrepreneurs who are otherwise underrepresented.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you think about venture capital, it's really less than 3% of money goes to women, much less than that goes to founders of color. There's real true gatekeeping that happens, and have raised, venture in Silicon Valley for my previous startup. And so being able to really build, I think there's a good reason we're seeing so many more female founders, so many more founders of color in Web3, and who are building these authentic, engaged communities who are like, I wanted this to exist, but no one was funding it. And so being able to build that, I think, has been incredible. I also think, everyone says the bear market is for building. It's funny. I think all time is for building. We just say bear markets are for building to feel better. But I think it's a time to focus, right? And to cut through the noise. And being able to be in person actually at this time, I think, is so much more impactful and inspiring, because the connections we're making a little bit more intentionally, right? We're not running around in the same way, I hope. And so that would be my hope for the folks here, to turn and meet somebody and make an authentic connection. But thank you all so much for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Day.